everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another episode of Let's Make a Game. This is a little mini episode and sorry it's taken me so long to actually post it, but it was requested by someone on in the comments to the previous episode where I spoke about hex map design, and what the question was basically, well, that's all very well doing in Photoshop, but how do I actually create the hex map itself? Because there's no sort of quick and easy hex map creator in Photoshop. And it's actually quite like a roundabout process, so I think I'm just going to show you how I actually do that, so that if this is something that you're interested in, you can actually make your own hex maps, which I think is pretty damn exciting. So, to make my hex map, it's a two-step process. Basically, the first step is I create the hex map as a vector image in Inkscape, which is an open source vector image editor, and I then bring that into Photoshop. So I'm going to show you how to do that, but the first thing you need to do is obviously, I've opened two windows of Inkscape here, it's not great, is install and open Inkscape. But the other thing that you need to install is what's called the hexmap extension, which is developed by a guy on BoardGameGeek whose name is escaping me, but the address to pick it up is github.com/lifelike/hexmap extension. So once and basically what this is, it's like a plugin that works with Inkscape, which well, here's the description for you. Inkscape extension for creating hex grids suitable for board game maps. How perfect is that? So once you've downloaded that and installed that, and there's instructions for how to install it in the sort of file that you download itself. When you've opened up Inkscape, I just want to make sure that it's the right size. So I know that I'm going to be working with A4. So that works for me. Alright, so you just make sure that your page is the size that it's going to work for you. If you're working in the US and you need a letter size page, for example. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click up here at extensions and go down, and this is obviously not in the base installation. This is something that you get afterwards. We'll go extensions, board games, and move over to create hex map. Alright, this little window will come up. Okay, so let me just talk you through some of this stuff in this window here. We have number of columns, number of rows, the actual size of the hexes, so if you want them to be 1 inch hexes or half an inch or whatever. You can choose to rotate them, so whether you want the hexes to be like that at the top or flat at the top, it's up to you. And then you can actually add coordinates and all of that sort of stuff. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say we want a 8 by 8 hex, so say we're creating like a chessboard kind of hex. And I'm going to actually click on live preview. And it's quite processor intensive, believe it or not. I've got a fairly decent computer, but there we go. So there's my hex map. So it's 8 hexes wide by 8 hexes high. If I wanted to add more, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I could probably go up to about 12 hexes wide, 12 columns. If you just give it a minute, it'll take some time to think, and then it'll update the sort of live preview. Oh, I've got it the wrong way around. That's because I've clicked rotate. Now, if rotate isn't selected, and it isn't selected by default, you'll see over here, that's what we end up with grids with flat at the top. And it doesn't really matter because you can always rotate it afterwards, but if you want to use these little hex coordinates which it generates, I'm not sure if I can actually zoom in, yeah. But if you want it to be pointy at the top, then we just click on rotate. And let's just leave it like that. I'm not actually going to use this one. And once it's done, you can click apply. Then we'll click close, and it's actually created our hex map. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. And you can actually see here we are. So here's our grid. It's got the hexes, it's got center dots, and it's got coordinates. Now if we come over here to the layers panel, it's going to make this a little bit bigger. Layer 1 I'm going to turn off because that is that's just the layer that's there by default. Hex fill is something that we're going to want to turn off because basically, even though you can't see it here, inside all of these hexes is a sort of a white 100% opaque fill, and that's what that is. So we'll turn that off because we just want to capture the outlines basically. Hex grid is the grid itself, so that's turning that on or off. The hex coordinates, you can turn those layers on or off if you want the coordinates or not. And the center dots, I'll turn the center dots. Oh, let's leave them on. The other thing that's quite cool is it generates here and it's not turned on is the corners. So I'm going to turn off the grid and turn on the corners. So if you want a hex map that looks like that, let's turn off the center dots. You can, if you want something like that, it's a lot less obtrusive, maybe slightly harder to see, but it does obstruct the terrain and the beautiful cartography below a lot less. So once you've done all of that and you've found the map that you want, we'll just go File, Save As, and what you'll want to do is save it as a PDF file. Okay, so you can see I've got a bunch here already. We've got A4 with 1-inch hexes, A4 with 1.2-inch hex corners. So I've got a bunch of different ones that I use. Next thing you're going to do, once you've saved that, is I'm going to come over into, where's my Photoshop? Photoshop CS6, 64 bits. Then I'm going to open up Adobe Photoshop, and I'll show you what that kind of looks like once you pull it in. So once you've created your PDF, what you'll end up with is as long as you've turned that layer for the hex fill layer off, you're going to have a PDF with a bunch of outlines of hexes. So I'm just going to open up one of these here. This is A1 with 0.8-inch hexes for 0.5-inch counters. See, I'm quite descriptive with my naming. So you'll click there, open it up, and you're actually opening the PDF file. And what you'll end up happening is you'll get this import PDF window. You can either choose to import images, and there are none on this document, so you're not going to worry about that. You're going to choose pages, because that's what we want. And the other thing you want to make sure you select is that you choose 300 dots per, or 300 pixels per inch, which is print resolution. Once that's done, you click OK. And this is a huge document, so there we go. And now we have it. So I'm going to just create another layer, and I will fill it with, oh gosh, my mouse is, need to replace my mouse, it's behaving very poorly. So I'm going to fill a layer with white, and I'll drag it underneath my hex map, which is actually on layer 1 over here. And there we go. Wow, so let's zoom in and have a look at our beautiful, there we go. So that's our hex map, which has now been imported and is sitting on top of our layer. And now if we wanted to make our grass or whatever underneath, we would just go from there. And that is how we do it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that was helpful. I hope that answered the question. And until next time, take care of yourself, play lots of games, and talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.